tonight.
And I'm trying to comfort him. I'm trying to tell him that it's over.
A man accused of performing an exorcism at a Saskatchewan Bible camp defends his actions. Also, kids in our province between 5 and 11 years old will be able to get their booster doses starting tomorrow. Plus, recognition for serving their community. The Lieutenant Governor presents the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal to 70 recipients in Regina.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, August 30th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Our investigation into an alleged exorcism at a Saskatchewan Bible camp this summer continues. Several parents say their children were subjected to it, and they are in shock. The RCMP have wrapped up their investigation without criminal charges. And as Yasmin Correa reports, the camp and the counselor at the center of it all are defending what happened.
Parents say last month they had to pick up their terrified children after midnight from this Bible camp north of Saskatoon. They say a camp counselor had performed an exorcism on a child. 3 different parents say about 8 kids were in the room when it happened, including Marcy Bond's 13-year-old son.
It's been tough, right? Like, you don't send your kid to Bible camping expecting something like that to happen. Yeah, I don't know. We've been through a lot with this.
My name is Apostle Carlos Dirksen, and today the Lord God has shown me that this video will be titled Titles and Testimonies from the Spirit Realm.
The camp counselor in question was Carlos Emmanuel Dirksen. Parents say Dirksen preached to their sons until nearly 5 o'clock in the morning on July 13th. Then the next night, they say he sent them out into the darkness to explore. One boy thought he saw a monster and they all ran back inside. That's when Dirksen decided to perform an exorcism on a camper. At one point, the child was bleeding from the nose and writhing on the floor, but it's unclear why.
And I'm trying to comfort him. I'm trying to tell him that it's over.
Dirksen himself admitted he was trying to cast out the child's demons in a recent YouTube video. He says his actions shouldn't come as a surprise.
Now, you should know better. If you're sending your child somewhere that has the word Bible in the title, well, what is the Bible? That is your fault for being ignorant.
There are questions about how Dirksen was hired. In a Facebook post last year, he described how he was addicted to pornography and drugs for years and was even violent towards his girlfriend. The summer camp I worked at fired me, for my girlfriend showed up with bruises and evidence of my actions.
I was suicidal, I was struggling with a lot, and I got an encounter with the Holy Ghost. I was, encountered God, the love of God.
Parents say top Redberry officials told them the night of the exorcism and in follow-up conversations that the exorcism was necessary to save the boy. They declined CBC's request for an interview, but say Dirksen is no longer at the camp. Yasmin Correa, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The RCMP issued a statement late this afternoon. Police say they conducted 2 investigations and interviewed multiple witnesses, but concluded no laws were broken. The head of the major crime unit says, quote, practices like the one reported may be concerning to some people, but they are not illegal in Canada. The RCMP says it cannot speak to child welfare matters. Saskatchewan's Advocate for Children and Youth is launching an investigation into the services and oversight of registered independent schools. This comes a little more than a month after CBC News reported on abuse allegations from dozens of former students of a Saskatoon Christian school. Children's Advocate Lisa Broda says the magnitude of allegations prompted her to start the probe. Caitlin Erickson is one of the former students who came forward with abuse allegations. She was a student at what is now called Legacy Christian Academy. A criminal investigation is ongoing and a $25 million class action lawsuit has been filed. Erickson says more scrutiny of independent schools is needed.
I hope that there is some recommendations, because it's becoming very clear that there's several gaps to the oversight of these places. And I really hope that, I'm looking forward to reading the advocate's report when the investigation's done. And I hope that some of these gaps can get filled and there can be more regulation and more oversight into these places.
We want to ensure, especially with school starting this week, that students are in a safe place. That students are safe in the schools that they're attending. That the government is providing oversight, including additional oversight to qualified independent schools, and that school can start for these schools as it would any other year.
Education Minister Dustin Duncan says the ministry welcomes the advocate's investigation. He's asking schools involved to cooperate. Duncan says he does plan to make himself available to meet with former students. Saskatchewan children between 5 to 11 years old will be able to get their COVID-19 booster dose starting tomorrow. The Pfizer booster was approved for the age group by Health Canada earlier this month, but the provincial government is only making it available now. Parents and guardians will be able to book appointments by phone or online starting at 8:45 tomorrow morning. Walk-in clinics and some pharmacies are also an option. It's recommended kids receive their booster shot at least 4 months after their second dose. And if your child has or has had COVID-19, they're able to get the vaccine as soon as their symptoms improve.
9 months now that the vaccine has been offered to children 5 to 11. Again, like vaccination in older age groups, very safe, very effective. So, getting vaccinated will help as we enter into the fall.
Shahab encouraged children who have yet to be vaccinated to get their first and second shots. At this point, only 43% of children in this age group in Saskatchewan have 2 doses. But for those who are ready for a booster, some parents are upset they were not given more time before school starts. This Saskatoon mother says she wants to get her 6-year-old son a booster dose, but considers it bad timing.
I will, but I probably won't do it right now because the first week of school and stuff, there's so many other things to manage emotionally and vaccines are one of those things that kind of trigger some emotional anxieties and whatnot, especially with my son. So it's hard to do it right now. So I might have to wait a couple weeks until things have sort of settled with the start of school. I always wish it came earlier. Every step of the way, I always wish the announcements came a little bit earlier. It always seems to be like just in the nick, trying to be just in the nick of time, but at that point it's not in the nick of time. It's 2 weeks too late.
In the midst of an opioid crisis in our province, an event in Regina tomorrow will focus on remembrance and prevention. August 31st marks International Overdose Awareness Day. At Mama Weyatatin Centre, the day will be marked with performances, a memory path, and a meal. More than 16 organizations will be on hand to share information and help for people who ask for it. One of the organizers says this is a chance to help lift stigma.
We never used to talk about it. It used to be something that was shoved under the table or whispered about. And now we're recognizing, we're talking about people. And let's remember that the people whose lives have been lost to drug overdose were loved, and are missed, and we can still celebrate who they were. And we can prevent, as much as we can, more unnecessary drug toxicity deaths.
Ronnie Nordahl is passionate about advocacy and awareness because her adult son struggled with active addiction for more than a decade. At one point, he almost died from an overdose. According to the Regina Board of Police Commissioners report this morning, 75 people have already died of drug toxicity in Regina this year as of July 30th. That's more than 10 people per month. The event tomorrow from 2:30 to 5 p.m. also includes free naloxone training and kits. The possibility of Regina police officers wearing body cameras is still up in the air. The topic came up at today's Board of Police Commissioners meeting. Members discussed accountability and oversight measures already in place. That includes dash cameras and non-police investigative bodies like the Saskatchewan Public Complaints Commission. The board says the conversation around body-worn cameras is at a standstill for now, but with many things to weigh, the talks are not over.
We know that our patrol officers have some of the highest caseloads in the country, and so it's hard to justify $4 to $6 million on body cams when we're still under-resourced from a personnel perspective.
Is this an area we want to go down? And knowing that we have all of these other accountability mechanisms, do we feel that the benefit from body-worn cameras is enough, that the investment and the time and resources we're going to put into it is worth it? And that's a future discussion that we'll be having.
Saskatoon Police started its body camera pilot project back in the spring. So far, Regina Police say they've heard things have been going well, but it's more expensive than expected. According to RPS, the cost of a single camera is about $2,700 and costs $1,600 per year to operate each one. Regina's mayor says she hopes to take what Saskatoon has learned and factor it into the board's next steps. Saskatoon could also lead the way in our province by being the first city with a shared electric scooter program. Other big cities do it. It's pay as you go, picking up and dropping off scooters at convenience. The city of Saskatoon is considering allowing e-scooter vendors to operate in the city for a 2-year pilot project. But first, it's looking for public feedback. The city says the government is also working out legislative changes that would allow e-scooters on public streets and define rules as far as helmets and speed limits. Saskatchewan is marking the Queen's 70th anniversary on the throne by handing out platinum Jubilee medals to people who serve their community.
George Reed from Regina for contributions to sport.
Saskatchewan Rough Riders legend George Reed was among the first 70 people to receive the Jubilee Medal. Another recipient was Chief Bobby Cameron of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations. Lieutenant Governor Russ Morasti did the honors today with Premier Scott Moe in the crowd. The province says the medal is a tangible way for Saskatchewan to honor Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II's long-standing service. In total, the province will give out 7,000 of these medals at ceremonies throughout the province. You can nominate someone on the government's website. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders are offering 1,500 people a chance to volunteer in the 2022 Grey Cup in Regina, but it comes at a price. Registration is open for volunteers to help out during the 6-day event from November 15th to 20th. You sign up online and consent to a criminal record check. Potential volunteers have to pay something the riders are calling a volunteer commitment fee of $85 plus GST. That will bring in about $128,000. The club says that will go toward uniforms for volunteers, software, training, meals, and other administration expenses. Well, school may start later this week, but Mother Nature is not letting go of summer, and neither are the people cooling off at the spray park in Regina. Other people might soon follow their lead, because it does not look like temperatures are going to let up. Ethan will have your full forecast after the break. Stay with us. Rising inflation has hit hard at the grocery store. It's been a challenge for many people to maintain a healthy diet and meet their food bill. So Joanne Roberts hit the supermarket with one couple, a nutritionist, and got some tips for stretching your grocery dollar.
I really love the pizza bobs.
Tiffany Dang and Kyle McKenzie rely a lot on frozen, pre-made food. They try to shop fresh, but sometimes they find food goes bad before they can eat it.
Sometimes, I just forget that, okay, I have that in the fridge.
The couple find themselves in the same predicament as many Canadians. They need easy meals that are still healthy and cheap.
Working full days, come home, we kind of just want easy to do stuff like that.
Janine Lafort owns Real Life Nutrition and is a registered dietitian. Lafort says there are ways to keep food costs down while still eating healthy.
So you can do things like kind of make a big batch of certain dishes that can be kind of portioned out and put in your freezer. And when you're making a larger batch, it saves time and it also saves some money too.
Like many Canadians, a big staple in Dang and Mackenzie's diet is meat. With it being an expensive item that Dang cooks with often, she wants to know if she can bring the cost down.
One of my favorite ingredients is red split lentils. They're actually lentils that have been split in half, and because they're cut in half, they cook really fast.
By changing the recipe and replacing a portion of meat with pulses like beans or lentils, people can still make filling meals that cost less. Although Mackenzie agrees that Lafort's tips are helpful, he still has one main concern.
Is there a way of doing it that just seems a bit more convenient, not overwhelming?
So even if you can find like 10 minutes, like little pockets of time where maybe you chop your carrots for the week, get that done. Rather than, thinking of it as really overwhelming and doing it all at once.
Lafort's number one tip is for people to know what they'll eat. If something will get eaten, try to buy in bulk. Get quick to sell, discounted produce to eat the same day, or if it's possible, freeze it for later and save money that way.
Lafort says these tips aren't just for Dang and Mackenzie. They're options all Canadians can consider when trying to bring their rising food costs down. Joanne Roberts, CBC News, Winnipeg.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac, making back to busy easy.
And CBC weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. It is almost September, but it feels like July.
Yeah, that's right. I'm over here just kind of fanning myself. It's a little warm still for this time of year, and you are not the only ones noticing this, because indeed today's highs versus our normal temperatures really tell the picture here. We are sitting at 10 degrees, over 10 degrees above normal in some cases. Regina, Moose Jaw, 10 degrees above normal for this time of year. Saskatoon, North Battleford with those highs of 32 today. You were 11 degrees above the normal. Even as far north as a place like La Ronge, 8 degrees. Meadow Lake, 9 degrees. And temperatures right now, even at 6:15 or so, we are sitting into the 30s in the western portion of the province, and still at 26 in places like Yorkton and Hudson Bay. Now, the question becomes, can we call this a heat wave? Well, there is a real definition, sort of, from the World Meteorological Organization. And they consider a heat wave 5 or more days in a row where our highs are 5 or more degrees above the average high. And in a place like Regina, where our average high is right around 21 degrees this time of year, we're going to be seeing a lot of 30-degree days, but it's actually Friday that trips us up, so we will get very close, but not quite at heat wave criteria. Prince Albert, you are officially, according to the World Meteorological Organization anyway, in a heat wave with these temperatures. Carlisle, normal is 22. Those are some really hot days, Wednesday, Thursday, but no cigar, because again, Friday is going to trip you up, so you will get within inches of a heat wave there. We do have a heat warning. I had to really zoom in close for this one because it's Lloydminster, and lots of heat warnings to the west of us in Alberta, but those will likely not extend eastward because we're looking at overnight lows. With the sun going down a little earlier, they will be nice and cool. And also, we are only going to see really one day of these really hot temperatures tomorrow, and we need 2 or more consecutive days to get within heat warning criteria. But we will watch humidex values tomorrow. That's something that's really going to pick up mid to upper 30s for much of south and central Saskatchewan with those. Now, in terms of our outlook map, really not a lot happening, just like yesterday, except for the far north. Again, tonight we could see some showers and occasional fog patches in that part of the province. Those will move out tomorrow. I think most of the province will see a mostly sunny day through the day tomorrow. And then as we get Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we are watching this system beginning to move in, and we will see showers through central and northern Saskatchewan, and especially through the day on Thursday. Northern Saskatchewan will probably pick up a few millimeters of rain, good for the forest fire situation. But for Regina and southern Saskatchewan, it's just hot and it's just dry. We are looking at humidex values again, low to mid 30s next couple of days with lots of sunshine in store. And for Saskatoon, humidex a little higher than Regina. We could see some gusty conditions Thursday, Friday. We do get a break there, and so things will get a little better. But then the heat builds back in for the long weekend. So, Sam, I'm jealous of those kids before the break that we saw at the water park. I might have to just head down there after work.
Not a bad idea, Ethan. Thanks for this.
You bet.
We're back with more news after the break. Welcome back. Heavy fighting is being reported in the Russian-occupied regions in South Ukraine. An unverified video appears to show Russian forces shelling Ukrainian positions near the city of Kherson. Ukraine's military claims to be taking the fight to the Russians in a push to win back territory. Further north in Kiev, a team of international nuclear experts is visiting Ukraine today. The UN watchdog agency wants to visit the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, now under Russian control. Volodymyr Zelensky has long called for external intervention to avoid a radioactive catastrophe. Concern over shelling near the plant remains high. Estonia has remained a staunch supporter of Ukraine ever since the Russian invasion more than 6 months ago. Earlier this month, the Baltic nation even removed a Soviet-era monument outside the town of Narva. Estonia has also closed its borders to Russian tourists and is pushing the rest of Europe to do the same. Briar Stewart explains.
I'm in Narva, Estonia, in the eastern part of the country, and just across the river, which only spans a couple hundred meters here, lies Russia and the community of Ivanogorod. Now, this is quite a picturesque but also surreal location because you have these two historic fortresses facing each other across the river. Over there you have the Russian fortress with the Russian flag, and on this side there's the Estonian fortress with the Estonian flag. And both sides of the riverbank and the countries are connected by this bridge, which is called the Friendship Bridge. It's a pretty ironic name when you consider just how much this relationship has soured. In fact, Estonia has put in place a visa ban that will affect tens of thousands of Russians from coming here and transiting through the EU. But it only affects Russians who hold Schengen area visas issued by Estonia. So they're prevented for coming over here and doing things for tourism or for business. But there are exceptions made for Russians that are coming over here to visit family. Estonia, along with Latvia and Finland, are calling on the EU to put in place similar measures and to do more, to actually restrict more Russians. What Estonian officials say is they don't think it's fair to have Russians over here enjoying themselves on vacation when you have a war raging in Ukraine. But this issue is very divisive for the EU. You have countries like Germany and Italy and France that don't want to put in place a ban. They think it's too punitive against ordinary Russians. But Estonia has said that if the EU doesn't act altogether, it's prepared to move forward on its own. Briar Stewart, CBC News, Narva.
The man who is credited with bringing the Cold War to a peaceful end has died. Former Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev was 91. Gorbachev led the Soviet Union first as the head of the Communist Party and then as president from 1985 to 1991. He worked to implement social democratic reforms. He also engaged with the United States to limit nuclear weapons, significantly reducing Cold War tensions and winning the Nobel Peace Prize for those efforts in 1990. The Soviet leader oversaw the collapse of the Iron Curtain and the fall of the Berlin Wall, which led to the reunification of Germany. Gorbachev had worked to keep the Soviet Union intact, but it dissolved after an unsuccessful coup in 1991, and he resigned. Gorbachev continued to campaign for social democratic reforms in Russia after he left government. And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather. When can people open the windows to cool off?
It'll be a little while before that, Sam. You can basically take a copy of last night and this morning's forecast and just put it onto this forecast, because by the time we get to tomorrow morning, 17 and sunny in Regina. Southwest winds just enough to keep you cool. And already by the noon hour, we are close to 30 degrees. Keep in mind the humidex around 30 or just above that as well. Saskatoon, very similar picture for you. Southwest winds, sunny conditions, and 17 degrees, also getting close to 30 at noon. You're going to need to make sure you have lots of water and some shade tomorrow. But these nice hot days making for some nice pictures of the sunsets. And Ren grabbed this shot out at Tobin Lake, the kind of photo, Sam, that puts you in a calming mood.
It makes you cling to summer.
That's right.
With all of you have.
Whatever's left, you bet.
Thanks, Ethan. That is all we have for you tonight. For News Anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel. Glenn, Reed, and Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thank you for watching, and have a great night.